So inputs are things that we're going to plug in, and just be careful. That's all. It does get tedious, right? Having to do this over and over again, but we're going to plug in the inputs. We're just going to do the math on it. It's going to be 2 times, oops. Okay, and we do it again. Okay, if I plugged in 0, 2 times 0 squared minus 1, that's an easy one. Because 0 squared times 2 is going to be 0. That's an easy one, so we're going to go minus 1 there. And then, oh, what happened here? He made a mistake. There we go, it's got to be 3. Right, so then we go. Sorry, what's the matter? What's the matter?
For -1.
Yes?
You wrote that 2 times 1 minus 1 is 2. It would
Oh, sorry.
1.
Okay, let's okay, let me go. Oh, sorry, I see, thank you. All right. There's lots of commotion going on in the hallway. I was distracted. All right, y equals, are we okay with the next? Yes, not okay with the next one either?
Well, also, wouldn't it be -2, -1, 0, 1, 2 instead of 2, 2?
-2, -1, 0. Oh yeah, we're missing a 1. Sorry, is that the error? Okay, let's fix it. We'll scratch it out. Oh, 1 and 2. Leave that. Okay, thank you. So now if we plug in 1. All right, I think we're back on track. 2 times 1 is 2. Take away 1. I'm going to get this right this time. It's 1. And then if I plug in 2, do we notice any pattern there? So whenever you do this, try and notice a pattern, right? Like just look for the pattern that you see in the outputs. Okay. This is a special kind of graph. You're not going to see this. We're not going to do much work with this in this course, but all of grade 10, or a large part of grade 10, you're going to work with what this graph actually looks like. Okay. And the convenient part is that there's like some you'll notice around the 0, you kind of get some like symmetry about like either side. There's a little pattern. This is an interesting graph, and it's interesting, and it also formulates a big part of grade 10. Okay? So we're happy with that. So I think the more, you can see, again, even as easy as making one little error, it's easy to make an error, as you saw with me there. Okay? Not a big one, but it was big enough to mess up the graph. Okay, are we okay with this one? There were a few people struggling with the next one, but it's not much different. You just gotta be careful. Okay. And again, I'm recording this so you can watch it after if you need to. Okay, so the height of an object is object thrown upward at a speed of 12 meters per second. That should be from, gotta tell Mr. Polar, from the top of a building is given by the formula h is equal to 12t minus 4t squared, where h is the height in meters and t is the time in seconds, since the object was thrown. Okay, so what is the height of the object after 2 seconds? Okay, that's what we're going to look at here. Okay, well, let's come down here. I'm going to rewrite for part A. I'm going to rewrite the equation. Okay, and let's look at what A is actually telling. So it's important to look at not only just what the question is, like what it's asking you, but pay attention to what it's providing you too, right? And you know what it's providing you if you just pay attention to the units on whatever number they give you, right? That's a big part of this, right? It's not just necessarily like, I think sometimes like we get caught up on like, I don't know what the question is asking me, or like, you know, I mean, like what's the unknown here. But if you flip your perspective and think of what's given to me in the question, that often helps you. It's like reverse engineering what like the question actually is, right? So let's pay attention in A. What is the height of the object after 2 seconds? And not all questions are going to be quite this straightforward and easy, but it's asking for the height, right? Well, conveniently, you have an equation that tells you what the height is. It's h equals, right? Height is equal to all of this. And then if you keep reading inside of that question, it'll give you another piece of information. So where in the equation or the question does it talk about time? Yes?
It says that T is the time.
Yeah. T. Right, so you just take whatever they've given you here, you plug it in where you see the T. Right, and all of a sudden it spits out what the answer is, right? So 12, oh, it's just more than one T, right? There you go, 2 of them. So you're gonna plug in the T value of 2. 12 times 2, take away 4 times 2 squared. Okay, 12 times 2 is gonna be 24, and then take away 4 times, we know 2 squared is going to be 4. Do I leave it like this? We'll just put a box on it and move on. Kenneth?
Because it's a word problem, we have to like write it down.
Yeah, so ideally I'd like to see this. Therefore, and maybe this will lead the rest of you onto the trail I'm trying to get you on. The height of the ball (2 seconds) is 8. Are you going to leave it like that? Yeah. Put the units on there, right? It's specified in the question what the units were. This feels awkward, and I think if you didn't, so albeit sometimes therefore statements are tedious, they are important sometimes because they actually they conclude your final findings, right? They put it tie a nice little bow on the whole question. But quite often, what will end up happening is you'll see kids, they won't write the therefore statement, and then they leave their answer like this. Right? So albeit the therefore statement might be a little tedious to write every time, I understand that. But in reading this, therefore the height of the ball after 2 seconds is 8. 8 what? That sentence feels unfinished. Right? And hopefully that therefore statement catches that for you so you don't forget about it, right? And it told you in the question, it's measured in meters. So put the units on there. Okay? Now I have a feeling Mr. Poling has something up his sleeve with this 5 seconds question, so we're going to do it and see what happens. I don't know if anybody else has done it, but I have a feeling something interesting is going to happen. So let's do it and see what happens. I don't know if anybody's done it yet or not. Okay? We're going to go, okay. Same equation, because we're still in the question. So h equals 12t minus 4t, and then this time, t is now going to be 5. It's the exact same work. Oh, am I missing something in my equation?
Exponent.
The exponent, yeah. Okay. Okay. 12 times 5, do we know what 12 times 5 is?
60.
That's right, 60, okay. 5 times 10 is 50, and then you got 5 2s, which makes the other 10 for 60. Okay, and then we're going to have take away 4 times 25. What are we going to get here? 60 take away 100. What could this possibly mean? Does this make sense to anybody? So you will get answers in math that don't make sense, but they're answers that satisfy the equation, right? But when you start putting words on, now there's context there. So why they have to make sense of it, or it doesn't make sense at all. And a perfect example of that, sometimes in like, well, particularly in this unit where we're dealing with these kinds of equations, you'll get like an answer for negative time. That doesn't make any sense, right? We're not time travelers. So it's in those instances, it's the math works out and like you get a negative time value. Okay, it works for the math, but it doesn't make sense in real life. So that'd be an instance where you would ignore that answer. My question is does this answer make any sense? Kath?
Okay, well, he did say that it was thrown at the top of the building upwards, so maybe it just like fell. Like they threw it out in the same spot.
Okay, so I think one of two things could happen here. It didn't really necessarily give us like a reference frame, which is fine. But I guess the point of me asking these questions is for you to try and like come up with a scenario where this could actually make sense. Right? It's like it's forcing you to think. So what we said is we didn't give a reference frame. Right? We did not say that the ground was 0 anywhere, right? So what I think has happened here is the ball got thrown from like, oops. The ball got thrown from somewhere, wherever it might be. We could figure out what it was, but it got thrown up, and then it came back down, and this negative 40 implies that it was 40 meters below where it started, which is the negative 40. Okay, if the building was on a cliff, it would make even more sense, right? Then the ball just kind of went right past the edge of the cliff, down negative 40 meters. Okay? So I guess sometimes you gotta think critically as to what your answers actually mean. Do they make sense in the context of the question, or do they make sense at all? Negative time is a perfect example of an answer that does not make any sense. Because again, we're not time travelers, right? Does anybody have any questions with that? Now, I know I'm going to do this one. I'll do the first one maybe. Or do you think that's helpful to do the first one? Somebody was asking me about the first one, not getting the answers, but I don't mind doing it. Okay, we could do number 1. I'll do number 1 and I'll leave, or I'll do 1A, and then I'll leave 1B and 2 for you all to do for homework, if you did not already do it. Okay, so this is the exact same thing. It's just the equation's a little bit more complicated, so you got to be careful with the substitutions in the math. That's all. I think that's all the issue that's going to arise, right? So h is equal to negative 5. I'll write out the equation again. Okay, and we're going to evaluate this. Right? We evaluate for h. Okay. We want to find h when t equals 2. Same as the last question, just a little more complicated. Okay. So h is going to equal, I'll move it up. H is equal to negative 5 times 2 squared plus 25 times 2 plus 2. What's the height? Well, we're going to go negative 5 times 4 plus, we can do the math here, 25 times 2. It's going to be 50, and then plus 2. Negative, and this could be very well where some of you have gone wrong. You maybe left the negative off, I'm not sure. Okay, negative 5 times 4 is going to be negative 20 plus 50 plus 2. Negative, well, you could ignore the zeros if you wanted. What's negative 2 plus 5? I'll let you get caught up. Some of you I think are writing. I'm trying to give you tricks, like what Mr. Bowling was saying before the break. Try to give you a little, like, couple tricks. Like negative 20 plus 50. Like sometimes, like in our heads, at least in mine, like I don't deal necessarily well with the bigger numbers, right? There's no reason for those to be bigger, right? They're just base 10s, right? So if you wanted to, just scratch off the zeros, get negative 2 plus 5 with a 0 on it. What is negative 2 plus 5? Yes?
3.
It's 3 with a 0 on it. Plus 2. Is that the answer? Yes, it is. Okay, me go. Do we want to see anything else before I hit stop? Are we okay? Is there anything anybody's like did not get right? I don't mind taking it up. Okay.